All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to PS Comics I Love You, the official pop culture podcast of KRP Broadcasting, where we come to you every single week, talk about all the news and notes and all the good stuff that is with pop culture, comics, movies, TV shows, video games, you name it. We'll talk about it for 2 hours. I am the voice of reason, Kevin Pillow. You can follow me somewhere around here at Voice of Reason 23 on all social media platforms. That's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. But man, over there, right there at the DC Marvel Pool House, right there. Yeah, you gotta get away. We were deciding not everyone wants to see Rogue. There's enough characters in the background for everybody.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Dark King, aka JR Capricorn, aka Dark King. You can also find me at also not JR Comics 42 on Instagram. And also we do now have our socials up for PS Comics I Love You on both Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So please guys follow us there. We are still trying to post regularly. It's just been a really weird week for me as well, and Kevin. A lot of stuff happening, so that's cool. But other than that, guys, it is our third and final con episode today.
Wrath of the Con Part 3. It's episode 10 of our podcast, so we've hit that milestone. They haven't thrown us off YouTube yet. Which, by the way, those social media handles, so there's no confusion. It's at PS Comics I Love You on Instagram and Facebook, and it's PS Comics I Love You, the letter U, on Twitter because they ran out of characters on Twitter.
That's right.
But we're gonna put a little bow on the con season, and I guess I want to end on the Eisner Awards because you know a little bit more about the winners and stuff like that, JR. But wanted to put a wrap on the retail side from SDCC at home. For the most part, people are calling SDCC at home a success. There's been some bad parts. You talked about that. You read that some lag, dropped calls, and some technical issues on the side of Comic-Con International.
Yeah, so let's just start off the bed real quick. There has been some publications out saying that the recent Comic-Con at home has been a bit of a failure in their eyes because, well, one, they're expecting the big earth-shattering news of Hall H stuff that we have touched on before in past podcasts, where people are expecting Marvel and DC and these big heavy hitters to basically just awe everybody, right? And so especially nowadays, especially in today's time where we're in the midst of coronavirus and everyone is at home and they can't go anywhere and they just want to get away and really have that that slight moment, those little small moments of just not wanting to be in this reality per se. And so you go to Comic-Con and you expect Hall H stuff, right? Yeah. Well, granted, you can't do that because there's just our reality now. And we have more so of what Comic-Con really is, or just any con really is where you have these small, very intimate panels where you have, you might not have the huge Marvel esque or DC-esque or your Doctor Who or Game of Thrones panels anymore, or this last Comic-Con. But you do have, your Walking Dead, which is still relatively big. You still have I was missing Supernatural. You still have, the 100. You still have New Mutants. You still have all these other, I guess, in some people's eyes, like, lower, I guess, B, C tier, movies or TV shows. Well, granted, that's Comic-Con, guys. That's actually a convention center, and you have way more. These are basically the panels that that people will kind of gloss over, like, oh, I don't want to go to that one, right? But that's the convention, where that is the actual that's for the the hardcore fans. And in that sense, to me, it is pretty much a success. But then I'll go with Kevin Parts. But other than that, people are also gonna are kind of raving, are kind of ranting that it also is also due to, you know, lost connection, people
Yeah.
going in and out, people going in and out of conversations because one, Skype isn't that great, right? Skype calling has been notorious for losing calls and just over a certain time frame. I know that personally, where you're having a lost call, and not only that, but mic setup and all that. Like, it's literally the first year, and hopefully it's the last year where we have this type of stuff. But granted, it's the new reality we're in, guys. But
And
overall, man,
yeah,
but
I was just say, like JR hit it on a good point. I think a lot of people were anticipating, like, oh, it's San Diego Comic Con, you don't need a badge to like. People are like, oh, cool, I'm finally going to get to go to Comic Con, and so they're thinking, I get to get into Hall H. And the problem was, and I knew from the get go, because you look at, I looked at what was in the can already, and what that means is stuff that was already out of production were a lot of TV shows. The Walking Dead had shot about half of their upcoming season. Shows
yep.
like The 100, stuff like that level shows, TNT, TBS, Paramount, those level of shows. Marvel Studios had the final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the can.
Mm-hmm.
They already had Runaways had already kind of come to an end. All the stuff on Hulu and whatnot had already kind of come to an end. So there was nothing there. Movies, they weren't ready to release any information about the Disney Plus stuff. So Marvel was going to be out. DC from the get-go, they really have had nothing going on. I think the only thing they have in production other than Suicide Squad and the Batman was I think the beginning stages of Flashpoint. So they really were going to be out, and they kind of pulled out very early of the con. So I knew going in that you weren't going to get the Hall H level stuff that one can expect at Comic-Con. But for those of you who are familiar with Comic-Con, you got a lot of what they call maybe Ballroom 20 or like a Ballroom 6AB, which is, for those of you who've been to San Diego, know those references. They're smaller ballrooms. Ballroom 20 is the second biggest. That's where you would probably see a big TV panel. That's where you saw the Flash, Arrow, and stuff like that. But all those were already kind of out when DC announced Fandom, right, about a month before Comic-Con at Home. So I had tamed expectations for Comic-Con at Home. I knew that this was going to be very much a comic book Comic-Con at Home, that it was going to be very old school, a lot of artists, a lot of creators, a lot of writers. Marvel did say that they were going to send content out, and that was prepackaged comic book related stuff. Obviously, Joe Quesada's storyboards, which has been released on their YouTube channel. They talked about Marvel 616, which is going to be a new streaming show on Disney Plus. They released some of that stuff. That was the extent of what we were going to get. But it was very old school. It was going to be very old school, and that's why I was okay with it. Some of the panels that I did enjoy were a lot of how to, like I said on last week's show, how to connect with students via comic book. That's something that my wife has been using with her fifth grade class. The other thing too was there was a lot of gender and race related panels dealing with where the industry has come in gender and race equality. And I think that there has been a lot in that. I mean, you look at some of the top artists and writers in the industry are quote unquote minorities. Women have come a long way. By the way, Sci-Fi Wire has an incredible interview series called Behind the Panel on their YouTube channel, and there's a really cool interview with Jolie Jones, and that lady has come a long way. She's one of the good ones in the industry. She's good at what she does. She's come from the bottom, worked her way to the top. I mean, she could probably be in the top 5, top 10 creators. And she's working with your boys. She's working with like guys like Tom King, with Kincaid. Not Kincaid. My
It
goodness.
was
Was it Sinclair with?
I'm trying to pull up her.
Who's the guy that does death metal?
Oh,
Snyder. That's what I'm thinking of. So really cool. Check them out. I know you want to check us out on YouTube, but if you have a chance, check out the Sci-Fi Wire.
Absolutely.
I will say this sidebar, was very disappointed actually with the after seeing the Image Boys documentary from a couple years ago. I was actually kind of disappointed with the quality of the documentary that they did on what is his name? The guy that does Spawn. I can completely drew a blank. McFarlane. It was an okay interview, but really cool stuff on was it John Burns? I know it's probably some older video, but I really enjoyed it. But kind of putting a bow on San Diego Comic-Con at home. We'll get to the Eisner Awards. JR has a full rundown of that, but I do want to say this part. Throw some shade on some retailers. Gonna go right to it. Funko dropping the ball big time 2 weeks ago at this point when we recorded. Did they launched their con exclusives, literally sold out in mere minutes of most of their big exclusives, which are going to end up being available at Hot Topic and Target and online and stuff like that, just not without the little summer con exclusive sticker on it. I had friends of mine who were signed on, had stuff in their cart, were checking out, and right at checkout, it crashed. So you couldn't get shipping information. You would just get the spinny ball of death looking for shipping information. And in the meantime, it says it's in your cart, which means it's like a grocery store. If you're in line and at a grocery store and you're in line and the cash registers go down, you still have the stuff in your cart. It's not going to magically go back on the shelf. Well, in Funko Land, it magically went back on the shelf, and people who had hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars worth of Funkos in their cart, boom, they were gone. And when they would get finally the spinning wheel of death would go through checkout, and basically their cart would be empty. They're like, oh, what the hell? They'd go back into the shopping center, and all of the really good exclusives were gone. Apparently this is an ongoing issue with online with Funko. They continuously drop the ball. It was 100 times worse this year because everything was at home. But Funko had a 100% sellout of their store within an hour. But most of it was due to people just being raided. San Diego Comic-Con's exclusive merch store.
Very light. Very light.
Yeah, it was light. It was kind of, but their merchandising, it's kind of thin. They'll do a couple of t-shirts, maybe a hat. Obviously, the big thing is the collector pins. There were only 3 this year, one with the toucan, one with the 2020 SDCC logo, which is the one I got. I was actually surprised that one was still available. There was a circle San Diego Comic-Con pen. I was kind of like, nah, not for $30. They had buffs, which can be used for varying, like kind of like a head bandana to hold your hair back around your neck to keep your neck cool. For women, you can use it as a hair tie, and it looks like it can be used as a gaiter, which is, of course, a lot of the people are using this as face masks. So I got one of those. I did get the Art Germ t-shirt that will be shipped to me. That was with Punchline, which was going to be, looked like it was going to be one of the exclusive logos for Comic-Con this year. And of course, I did eventually get, because I went back online and found it about 2 days ago at like 3 o'clock in the morning. They loaded up more of, for those who know, the Comic-Con International blue signs with yellow Comic-Con lettering in, it says big front of the line. Well, there was a t-shirt that had that on the front, and on the back it said end of the line. I got one of those, but those sold out in like less than 10 minutes of all sizes, but really thin merchandising. The website did crash initially at launch. It was I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week, right at noon local time, and it crashed initially, but it got right back up. But it was pretty much cleared of all the good stuff within mere minutes. But
Yeah.
rewind or fast forward, I did actually end up getting that shirt, but there was a lot of stuff sold out and kind of a little pricey for my taste. One last thing, Marvel did keep with tradition. They did launch a set of pins exclusively from Scotty Young, like they do every year. Typically, it's a 4 to 5 pin set. This year, it was 15 pins. However, you could only get them if you bought all 15. That came in a package set for $200. It came with 2 exclusive prints from Scotty Young of I believe, an X Factor book, recent X Factor, 2 variants, a black and white variant and a color variant. Plus, you got all 15 pins in a collector tin from Marvel. Again, that was for $200 plus shipping. Those will not be to you until November. The other option they had was you could buy for $30. You could buy a blind box, I think, that come with 4 to 5 pins. You have no idea what you're getting. I'm a sucker. I bought 3 sets. So we will see in November. We will do a unboxing of that. Other than that, a lot of artists did exclusives. Our boy Ryan Kincaid did a show from his house in Colorado. Did some drinking draws, which he's notorious for doing. And I did see, Aspen Comics also did a 50% off. By the way, bravo. If anyone wants to know how to run a website properly, go to Aspen Comics. People will accuse me of being an ass kisser for Aspen Comics. Till they do something wrong, I'm going to continue to pat them on the back. Hands down, top to bottom, year in, year out, they are the top customer service when it comes to a publisher. I ordered a ton of back issues of Lola, including volume 1, first print, number 1, cover A, and I got for cover price. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, side story. I actually want to bring up a story about them for one time.
Go ahead.
My first year doing WinterCon, it was 2018, and that was during the time where they released a bunch of Turner variants out, right, for DC. And the really well coveted one, even today, well, actually, especially today, is the Virgin variant of Supergirl.
Yeah,
where she's draped in a cape, right, in the Superman cape, and at the time it was still like around like $50-$60, right? And so my first time going to WinterCon, I go straight to their booth and say, "Hey, do you guys still have this variant?" Right? They go look at their things, right? Say, "Oh, we don't have any," but actually, no, that's right. They did have it. I bought it for $60-$70, and then I asked them for another camel variant, whereas the bubble pop variant. And they go, "Actually, we don't have that right now, but then we can go back to our office. If you're here tomorrow, we'll definitely see. I'll definitely give you for the regular price, like $50, right, for a 2 set."
Yeah.
So I took a picture with the guy who did bubble gun pop, and then like, okay, sure, I'll cover you tomorrow. Thinking to myself like, they probably won't go, right? Like, they're here in San Diego. I don't know how far their office is. If it's pretty far, I don't think they can go back, right? I go back the next day saying, "Hey, it's me, guys. I was wondering, if you guys have it." They pop out. Here you go. Here's 2 sets. And he is like, "Yeah, you know what, man? Since you did come here and you did your promise, we'll go for a little bit lesser, $40, and then we'll get you guys. We'll have this signed. If Camel's here, we'll wait for him to sign it too." I'm like, "Nah, man, it's cool. Thanks, guys." I gave him money. I bought more stuff from them. They're very, very cool. Top-notch quality, top-notch quality service for like just definitely going above and beyond to help you guys out. And so Aspen Comics definitely, man, definitely is a great bar of how you're supposed to run things, specifically for a con too. So they're great.
3 cool stories I have about Aspen Comics. Funny thing, JR should mention it. Same exact comic. I do have it. I thought I had it on my CLZ app to show you what the cover was. It is a yellow background, kind of a yellowish background. Supergirl, not wearing much, draped kind of spirally in the red cape. It's an amazing cover. Right now, according to Key Collector, it's well over $160, almost $200 cover.
$250 on eBay. $250.
I got a 3 or 4 print set for $60. Actually, no, Tatum, it was $100.
Yeah.
3 or 4 print set of the books. I mean, and they were all Virgin variants. I got at Vegas for at the Amazing Con in Vegas last year from the Aspen booth, small booth. He had two of these sets left, and you know, he goes, "Hey, they're going to go fast." I remember I talked to my wife. She's like, "No, you got to get it. You're a fan of Michael Turner. Grab that book." I grabbed it. Was planning on coming back the next day to grab the second set. It was already gone. But again, the guy was like, "Hey, I feel bad," because I told him, "Hey, I'm interested. Let me see how much money I have left by the end of the weekend. If it's available, I'll come back and grab it." Went back to grab it. The guy totally felt bad about it. Made me a deal on some prints. I'm actually some 11 by 17 prints. Super
Nice.
cool guy. Actually rewind to San Diego Comic-Con in 2018, I think it was.
Yeah.
It would have been the anniversary of Michael Turner's death, and they held a kind of a pseudo memorial for him. And they had a pin of the character Aspen, and it was there was only like maybe a couple hundred that you could get. They were only going to be available at this panel. They did give some to the employees of the Aspen booth. I just happened to see it on the lanyard of this lady that worked at the Aspen booth in San Diego, and I said, "Hey, how do you get that pin? How much is it? I want that pin." And she's like, "You can't get it unless you go to the panel." I'm like, "What time's the panel?" And she's like, 1 o'clock. And I'm like, "I got to be at work. I work for Comic-Con, line management, blah, blah, blah." So I was like, "Okay, no big deal. I'll buy it on eBay or whatever." You're like, I was like, I just, whatever. I mean, I wasn't going to say, "Hey, come on." I just said, "Okay, no big deal. I'll move along. Opportunity." So I went around and I was looking there was a few Lola books and a couple other things I was going to grab. I go to check out, and the girl kind of like looks around, and she takes the pen off of her lanyard and says, "Here, you seem like to be a real fan of Aspen Comics." And she's like, this is almost kind of the mission statement of Michael Turner, and that was to take care of the fans. So here, if you can't be there for Michael's going to be here for you. And she gave me the pin, and
Aw.
I carry it. I've had people willing to trade me an entire year's worth of Scotty Young Marvel pins, which go like that. If anybody knows San Diego Comic-Con, the Michael Turner pins from the Marvel booth go within mere minutes. I had people offer me last year an entire set for that pin, not even knowing the story behind it, just saying, "I want that pin. It's super cool." I have it. I'll get it when we get to our flex pool. But my last story was before Michael passed away, and before Michael Turner passed away. It was at a San Diego, and their booth was popping. It was one of the first years that Aspen was at San Diego. Michael Turner was a huge player in the comic game, and he got to the booth after doing a signing, or during a panel. Got back to his booth, was supposed to do a signing, realized that he had ran late, realized that everyone at his booth had not eaten yet. So he says, "Okay, I tell you what, I want all you guys to go on break. Every single one of you. I got this." So here's a guy, a legend, and we're talking Jim Lee, Campbell, Art Germ, like
At the time,
level
definitely.
guy. Oh yeah. And he just dismissed his entire staff. "Go eat, get away, go take a breather. I'll man the booth." And he ran his own booth for about 30, 40 minutes. And then when they all came back and he left, he came back with like a full, like, smorgasbord of food, put it in their little behind the scenes booth, and said, "Guys, you guys have got to still be starving. The food here is super expensive. Like, here's some food out of my pocket, whatever." And he still did the signing. And I don't think he charged. Typically people at Aspen's booth don't charge for autographs.
Yep.
But again, Aspen Comics, I believe that they might still have the Comic-Con sale going available on aspencomics.com. But if not, you missed out. 50% off on almost all books, store wide. The only thing, the downside is they're so popular, they cannot give you an ETA. But based on ordering from them in the past, it's usually a couple of week turnaround. So if you do order from them, it's not instantaneous unless you pay for like next day air. I cheaped out and bought just the basic ground postal USPS. I'll get it when I can get it, as long as I get it before next year's Comic-Con, so I can have Sia sign it. So,
Yeah.
But no, Aspen Comics, huge winner, and Boom Studios starting to ratchet up a little bit, in my opinion. So, but retail, I don't have anything else much to say. Let's talk about the good stuff. Oh, go ahead, JR.
Oh, actually, just you have feedback come from your mic, bro. But no, yeah, let's talk about this good stuff, guys. As Kevin kind of fixed your mic, was kind of messed up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Awesome. Can you guys still hear me?
I
don't know if it's cool. But yeah, let's talk about some of the good stuff, guys. Just quick stuff out of the way, because one, I'm a huge fan of this show and as well as series. Just small little thing before we just wrap everything up for Comic-Con stuff. The Witcher is finally filming. It's gonna be filming sometime in this month. They're gonna have a prequel called Witcher Blood Origin, and so that's also gonna be a show run by the original showrunner, Lauren Schmidt-Hirsch, or the still showrunner of the show. So that's gonna be good. It's supposed to be an elven story. It's take about 1,200 years before the actual storyline, and that's all we know so far. But yeah, man, I'm glad that they got Henry playing. I'm glad they got Henry playing Geralt, a nerd, playing a very big game or a very big series. I love that. I'm glad that we're going more so into like delving deep into sci-fi, or actually into like fantasy and fiction. So great for that one. But overall, the best part, or one of the good parts right now coming out of Comic-Con, is of course the Eisner Awards, and the winners coming from Eisner Awards.
Yeah.
And so like we said before, guys, the Eisner Awards is basically your Emmys for fiction, for writing, for comic books and stuff. And so we had the list of that happen about 2 days into Comic-Con. I think the winners were announced that Saturday of the first week of Comic-Con.
And that's named after
big winners.
Will Eisner, is that what it is?
Yes, Will Eisner, who was a famous comic and as well as famous writer. And so they just named that for him. And yeah, if you win an Eisner in this field, in fiction and writing, man, you are a contender. You are a big hitter. And so we have a lot of things from it. The biggest winner of the event, funny enough, I have yet to hear of. But that's just, of course, maybe it's not for me. It goes to Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, and it is a I guess you would call graphic. It is a graphic novel, but I have yet to see individual comics of it out. But it's written by Maiko Tamaki, and the art's done by Valerie O'Connell. It won 3 awards, so it won 3 awards. The best penciler and inker goes to Valerie O'Connell, and best writer goes to Maiko Tamaki, and the best publication for it as well from First Second Book Comics, or First Second Books. So it is a teen book, and that's a hot market. I'm guessing, man. The hot market is definitely your graphic novel set for teens and for young adults. I didn't know that. I mean, granted, of course, like I thought Marvel DC would be it, but I didn't know there was a lot of offbeat publications. And this is coming from a guy who worked at a bookstore and has seen this stuff. So I guess it just kind of glossed over, like, oh wow, I don't know. I know, graphic novels or graphic publications, graphic fiction was a huge thing for like young adult teens that wasn't affiliated with a Marvel or DC or your traditional comic book related stuff. You had a point?
Oh, I was going to say, I was reading, trade paperbacks and graphic novels. So for those, graphic novels is kind of and I mean this in the nicest way possible. I almost say it's kind of a pretentious way of saying comic books. But it is different. I mean, you look at like a Watchmen or a Frank Miller's Dark Knight, stuff of that level. I mean, it is a novel. I mean, it is up there. People have put it in the same ballpark of of a Grisham or a Tom
Mhm.
Clancy or that
Yeah.
the people of that ilk, but they just happen to have pictures that go with it.
Yeah.
It tells they tell a different type of story. I have read that trades and graphic novels, because you can get a graphic novel and it be a collection of it's almost kind of like to me a graphic novel can also be kind of a fine
Mhm.
line between a trade paperback and
Yeah.
just being like its
And
own
fiction.
standalone book, like
Mhm.
uh Frank Miller's Dark Knight. It's a graphic novel, but it is technically
Yeah.
in three parts.
More common. Yeah.
Yeah, what the Watchmen was, the Watchmen ever, the original Watchmen series, was it always just in a big novel, or was it broken up into individual books?
It was individual books because yeah, it was very much it was comics first.
Yeah,
It was very much like a like the term. I guess you could say the term graphic novel has kind of changed throughout the last couple
yeah,
decades they come out. Where I see like books from I forget her name, something Telmiger, who's done a who's done children books and young kids books. And I remember putting these books out there and reading a couple of them, flipping through a couple of them. It's very much reminiscent of like if you're in manga or in
yeah,
Japanese fiction. It reminds me more so of like light novels where it's a bunch of words. It's a bunch of like just full on, like it looks like a book, and then every now and then you see a picture, right? You see a drawing. Uh, but also it's way more consumable, I guess. I guess it's way more consumable for children, because you have a visual representation of who these characters are supposed to look like,
yeah,
who these what's supposed to be set out, and that's cool, man. That's cool. It's The graphic novel game is definitely a big powerhouse in just fiction now, and that's fine if that gets more people, if it gets more children to like, or kids to look more into comic books or just writing and the authenticity of just of the media and platform of what can happen from writing. And great, man, more power to them. It just took me off guard. Granted, the last couple of years anyway, last 5 or so years anyway, from Eisner winners have been these kind of offbeat, very young, very very young adults oriented, and geared towards younger kids type of platform, where you have these, for me, coming from a strictly comic book world, you have these kind of um, offbeats stories that isn't as fanciful as a Batman, as a Venom, or as a Superman type of stories, but still they hit pretty hard.
yeah.
And Corey Dean keeps breaking up with me. And hey, if it's written by Michael Tamaki, who is, I've read a little about her, great person, cool person, more power to her, man. She's gonna do great things for the game. She's gonna do great things for writing and just the medium in general of comic books. They're probably gonna have like a Netflix show about this soon,
Oh,
so
without a
that's something to
doubt.
probably look at. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
Oh, ongoing though. What? Get the
I'll
other
just
point.
say, just to throw another stat out there for those of you who are watching and have kids or are someone in the education or stuff like that. There's a stat. I want to say it's 50%. Um, I think it's something like somewhere around 50%. Could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more, but something like 50% of kids um, get their first reading experience from a comic book. So for those of you out there with kids, there's plenty of great comic books out there for different varying age groups. I mean, both my kids, I've got a 6 and an 8-year-old, and I think that they've had my daughter likes My Little Ponies and and Strawberry Shortcake and stuff like that, and my son likes Robin and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. So it gets them interested in reading, and I think all for it. If they're going to start giving more credit to a lot of these kind of not of the big two, um,
Hmm.
um, what's it called? Not of the big two comics. I'm all for that. Give everyone an opportunity. So, but congratulations to all the Eisner Award winners. And like JR said, I think it was a big year for these people. I mean, an opportunity to stand out. I think that was also kind of cool with the Eisner Awards,
Yeah,
was there was nothing to
I
overshadow it, like a Hall
yeah, I
H.
do know there. Yeah, there was it was kind of crazy because I do know they have been going this way for quite a while now, right? The last couple of
Yeah,
years,
yeah,
where it has been very much uh geared towards, type of like image-esque, very very artsy, very off the beaten path of your mainstream comics, where you have a lot more different voices out there now, different artists, different minorities specifically too. And so you see some of these winners out there. You have best I think lettering and best archival collection from the Usagi Yojimbo and Stan Sakai, who's been a long running guy in the game, and he's been at it for quite a while, man. I'm glad he won that one. Of course, we said Bitter Root for best ongoing
yeah.
series, with an all black cast, from writing to lettering to just the art. It's amazing. We have a bunch of these, like, small, like, a lot of these awards going to very much Image Comics s books, where it's very creator oriented, creator driven. And we had Little Birds by a Darcy Van Bolges, and Ian Beltram, who won Best Limited Series, and the person who won over David Mack twice, actually, is from Christian Ward, who did Visible Kingdom for Best Painter, Digital Artist, and David Mack was in that category, as well as Best Cover Artist by Emma Rose for Pretty Deadly. They're both Image Comics, and they're both independent comics. There you go.
Yeah. By the
And
way,
it was
he's going to get his
good.
due.
He's
I'm just
eventually, dude. It's a matter of time for it. He's gonna be on that one, just like out of nowhere, like book, and
yeah,
just gonna knock it out of the field. I thought he was gonna win it for American Gods. When American Gods was out last couple of years for that art, dude. And it just hasn't been the case, man. But it's when you're a talent like David Mack, you're gonna win.
yeah.
It's just a matter of time. Yeah, guys. That's a lot of the Eisner stuff, man. To try and transition to that Emmy into Emmy words, because
Real
what?
quick though, I did find that picture. I was looking at the I was looking at the wrong. I forgot it's a Superman Batman book, but
Yeah,
here is that
yeah.
book, that Michael Turner book I was telling you about. That is the cover right there. It is for Superman, Batman.
Eight.
I think it
This is
is.
number eight.
Yeah, hold
Eight.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Superman, Batman, issue number 8, from May of 2004.
Yep.
This was a San Diego Comic-Con 2017 exclusive variant. So, it was a book
Yeah.
13 years after it came out,
Yeah.
and
That's the reintroduction of Supergirl,
yeah.
and Michael Turner did that whole run, and he did all the interiors, man, and that dude was killer, man. Back in the day, this type of art, it spawned off a lot of, like, his art spawned off a lot of, like, creators today, even Art
Oh
Germ.
yeah.
Yeah, Art Germ. Well, there's certain lines of Art Germ that could definitely trace back to Turner, man. But he was definitely a rock star back in the day, man.
So yeah,
And
I just wanted.
we definitely lost a giant.
Oh yeah,
But
and I didn't know much about him when I found my first Turner book, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy is amazing. So, but yeah,
mm,
as Jr. said, with the talk of the Eisner Awards over, we kind of put the wrap on San Diego Comic Con at Home 2020 and the end of our Wrath of Khan series. But that does
mhm.
not mean this episode is over. We've still got a little bit of information to talk about. Wanted to
Yep.
use this opportunity to segue right into, as JR said, get right into Emmy Award nominations. The Emmy Awards come out, obviously a little bit different. They usually are announced at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They were kind of just announced,
Yep.
obviously with the coronavirus, as we're referring to it now. But this, JR, was a huge year. This is where we got to put our nerd fist up in the air and raise it high and proud. This was a huge opportunity for geek culture. I
Hmm.
think this was a huge year for specifically, I can think of one, but I think this was a huge year for women. I can think of a huge year for people of color.
Mm-hmm.
And it all happens to come from the same genre. And this looks like it's going to be about a about a two-legged race between Netflix and HBO. But
Mm-hmm.
you got to throw a little Disney Plus in there because JR, I cannot believe this. Star Wars never won the Oscar for Best Picture. It did get a lot of Oscars or at least nominations for Mr. Williams,
For like,
the great John
yep,
Williams, but
yep.
never did I ever think that a Star Wars property, because the only TV show we had before this was the Disney Holiday Special.
Mm.
Did I think that Star Wars was going to be nominated for an Emmy, and not just any Emmy, the Emmy for Best Dramatic Series, and landing 15 nominations was The Mandalorian from Disney Plus, from the
Yeah.
producer Jon Favreau, the guy who brought us Iron Man and the kickoff of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, brought us The Mandalorian. And The Mandalorian, kind of go over your notes here, JR. Outstanding production design,
Mm-hmm.
outstanding cinematography, outstanding fantasy sci-fi costumes, outstanding guest actor in a drama series for Giancarlo Esposito,
Esposito. Yep.
Moff Gideon.
Yep.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. 3, 2, 1. Moff Gideon was the guy at the very end of the show with the
Yep.
Nightblade, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
just make sure we're talking about the same guy. Amazing actor. I was just making sure. I
Yeah.
could not remember what his character was, but it kind of hit me.
Dude.
Yeah,
Come
dude,
on, man.
just so good, so good. But of
Like
course, the big award, Best Dramatic Series, bro. This is huge.
Yeah. It's crazy because granted, just kind of make a couple notes. The only Star Wars, like, I guess Emmys, I guess you could say, that would be associated to Star Wars franchise outside of course Williams for music was actually a little bit of the animated side.
Yeah, which was the only thing that was good.
Yeah, which that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Like in the last couple of years, in the last decade or so, the animated stuff and the TV stuff was getting the Emmys for it. Was getting the big nominations. But yeah, this is a crazy year specifically for just one for all this geek stuff that we're into, sci-fi, things that you not even think of that was gonna be a thing 5-6 years ago, as well as like a great thing for streaming as well.
Yeah,
streaming platforms. This is just another indication of like, hey, people are gonna watch your stuff, man. So a lot of your favorite mediums that are in fiction, that are in comic books, are probably being looked at right now to see, all right, maybe this is gonna be a good story. Because no one would ever think that a side story from a character that's not associated to the main branch of Star Wars, to the main branch of like Jedi's and stuff, is let's have him be its own side story, and that's gonna possibly be nominated for an Emmy. Are you serious?
Yeah,
That's just crazy to me, man. And just to have all these every single episode, right, was done by a different director.
Yeah, and they were all
really, really good. I was super, super surprised, specifically I think with the third or the fourth episode. It was done by a lovely woman. I'm trying to find her name as I find for it. But the way that was shot, it was the episode where Mando went to go see Giancarlo's character for the first time. No, I forgot her name. The war veteran. That was part of the resistance. I forgot her name, man.
Are you talking about the one where they're on that planet and he kind of saves that village?
Yep.
Yeah, that if I'm not mistaken,
good.
that is done by the lovely and talented oh my gosh, I just had her name, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah,
that would be
that
Ron Howard's daughter. Of course, you know her from the Jurassic World franchise
series. Yeah.
And of course, her dad did Solo.
Yep.
But no, that was a great episode. That was a fantastic episode. That was, to me, where it really really turned on a dime and became very much a Star
Yeah.
Wars show, and just with the AT-AT coming again. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. Where
Just say it
the
already, but
walker
yeah.
comes out of the
Yeah.
grass, but great
It,
show.
it's
Highly recommend it.
it's crazy too because like a lot of okay, I'm gonna go more so
No,
storytelling esque now. My fault, but it's crazy how the most simplest type of like storylines, right? Simplest storylines. Guy comes in, meets another character, and they're stranger comes into town, meets another character, and is asked to save the village. Is asked to say this is very much you Seven Samurai without seven people. This
yeah.
is very much that. It's a tried and true old story that's been told that has been told forever, and it works. How simple is that?
Mm-hmm.
It's these stories where we can grasp to and say, all right, cool. This shows who a character is. And I segue into my smaller rant of like, why can't the actual mainline storyline do something as simple as that? You have a story about Mandalorian that had a lot of bad press to it because there's another male character and they're nominated for 15 Emmys.
But at the same time, I honestly think that Gina Carano did a
Chrono,
great job.
amazing,
She should have been.
amazing.
She is
She should have
going
been.
to break through.
Dude, you should. Yeah, in what 3 episodes she's been in? Three to
Mm-hmm.
four? No, I think 3 episodes. Right? She had so much stage presence, and this is
Oh,
from somebody that had like what one movie as the main character,
Deadpool.
and then she no, it was another one called I think High Intensity or Intensity where she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
she had her own movie, and then she was in Deadpool. She was also in a Fast and Furious movie,
Oh, that's
I
right.
think.
But
No,
to
that
be
wasn't
honest,
her. That was
I
that was her.
honestly
That was
thought
her.
she
Yeah.
was great. I thought she was great in Deadpool.
Oh,
Um,
she was amazing,
it
Deadpool. I
was
wanted her to be in
just,
there more.
and it was funny was there was a roundtable. By the way, if you haven't had a chance, if you have Disney Plus, if you've already watched The Mandalorian, go watch the behind the scenes documentary that's available for Disney Plus, and watch as they just gush over Gina Carano, and people talk about how she has a bright future as an actress. Um,
Yeah,
her
amazing, dude.
snarky, sarcastic, condescending humor that
Hmm.
she has, by the way, fit perfectly in Deadpool. And she is so good as this just immediate badass. I don't care that, forget the fact that she was an MMA fighter. But she just has
No,
this
don't forget it.
presence that she just,
Yeah.
and to me, it has nothing to do with the fact that she was a professional fighter. She just, she still has a very feminine look where she is,
Hmm.
pardon my French, she's sexy, but
Hmm.
she just can look at you and go like, oh, I am not messing with her. Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
She fits into that franchise so perfectly. And she just delivered, I mean, just the delivery of the lines, and she can, and everyone's like, well, she's just so basic. People, there are the detractors of her say, well, she's just so basic. I'm like, it's not that big of a,
Hmm.
it's not a character that needs to be over dramatic. She just plays the
Yeah.
right role. She's an ass kicker, and uh, she emotes when she needs to emote, and I thought she was great.
Yeah.
Um,
Some.
I did
Yeah.
get some
Some.
questions. I did some real quick. I did get some people that asked about why the lead character, um, Pedro Pascal, was not
Yep.
nominated. He was up for consideration. They actually bent the rules for his character as Mando, because typically with a character that wears a mask, they are ineligible to participate in this because they don't know for sure who it is underneath the mask. And the Mandalorian crew, Jon Favreau, and everybody has said that Pedro Pascal was the normal amount as someone would in a dramatic action series be
Mhm.
in costume. The only time
Yeah.
was when a stunt double was brought in for certain fight sequences. But even then, you see him in the behind the scenes that there were times where he's like, no, I'm going to do my own stunts. I mean, he did
Yeah.
most of his own stunts on Game of Thrones, but that they broke they had a multiple people. I think all the directors and Jon Favreau. I think even the head of Disney wrote the Emmy board or whatever, saying that they should be up for consideration and not considered to be ineligible because the character was required to wear a mask. That it was very much a part of the character, and that
Mhm.
Pedro, his whole body, his whole presence, again, with not being able to see his facial expression, he was able to still emote while wearing a mask and deliver the lines. Yes, most of it was dubbed over, but they said that he met the minimal amount of dialogue given without being dubbed over, which is very difficult to do while wearing a fully covered face mask. But they
Mhm.
said they were able to do some technology where they had like a microphone built in to get that sound of him like he's talking through a mask. So people were asking about why Pedro Pascal was not nominated. He was up for consideration, but he was declared initially ineligible. But I still think he did a great job.
Yeah.
Um, and hey, voice actors need
Yeah.
nominations too. And even if he did have to do it in post production, he
Yeah.
still did the character justice. And my hats off to him.
Yeah.
Um,
Just a small point, real quick. Just a small point where you said before about that when it comes to like how simple characters are, or how you can see Mando as a pretty simple character, or you have Gina Carano's character seem simple. Sometimes simple is the best, man.
yep.
Like you don't need to have if your story is super extravagant in the world in how Star Wars in that world is. Sometimes you don't need a character that's thinking about that has daddy issues or
Yeah.
or parents issues or just stories of like some distraught past, which probably Gina Carano and Mando's might have, but you don't need to put that on display every single time. You don't need
No.
to be constantly shown that to see how much of a tragic character they are. Sometimes the story doesn't call for that. In this case, specifically in Mandalorian, that doesn't call for that because the story is what drives the story. The
Yep.
actions within it is what drives it. It's not a story about Mando's past. It's a story about this child's future, about the
Yeah.
child's future. And so that is what the story calls for.
The ca- and the
There's
character, by the way,
there's
you were
a
looking
sorry,
for is Cara Dune. I just looked it up real
yeah,
quick.
there you go,
I could not
Cara
remember.
Dune.
I was
And so
bugging me. I could not remember her character's
yeah,
name.
we know enough about these characters to say, all right, this person has a shadowy past. That's all you need to know as a storyteller and as a writer myself. That is all you. That's as much insight I want to give you as possible because one, that's not the story I'm trying to tell. That will come eventually, but more so what I want you to be invested in is the actual story that's taking hand. And what's taking hand is very old school storytelling. Stories of heroic acts. That's what the story calls for. You have this change in character of who Mandalorian is, where he's a bounty hunter, but at the same time now he's kind of looking like an anti-hero. And that's a good thing because you're more focused on that. And sometimes the simple characters are gonna win the Emmys, and that's great. That's a good thing to have
I'm.
because kind of uh good.
I was say I can absolutely not wait for the next season. I think it's supposed to come out this month or next. I know there was talk
Yeah.
about maybe delaying it, but I think it's supposed to hit the streaming service this month. So
Oh, dude, if it does, man, if it does, dude, I'm all over that. But
I might
uh,
it might be a binge all night for day one kind of
yeah,
deal.
yeah. But funny enough, I'm about to contradict myself right now by what I just said because the next the biggest getter of nominations for Emmys actually goes to HBO right now
Oh,
series.
huge!
Watchmen show. Watchmen is nominated for 26 nominations, dude. And this is a
I
random.
could not believe that. I mean,
Yeah,
limited series. There is talk that they
yeah,
may still do a season two, but for the most part, I think they're content at leaving it at a season one. But 26 nominations, the most of the year, again
yeah.
goes to a comic book related property on a
Mm-hmm.
on a premium platform. This is on.
Yep.
It is being credited, technically being credited to HBO, not HBO Max. So there is.
Mm,
It's not. People are going like, "Oh, that's cool!" Like Disney Plus and HBO Max got, and it's a complete sweep for streaming service. No, this was a HBO property before it was HBO
Mhm.
Max. But run us down, Jr. All the big nominees for this, and let's just call it what it is. Yes, these are just nominations, but can we all agree that they've, in my opinion, they've already won. Just being nominated, I know the nominees will disagree with you, but
Yeah.
as a nerd, as a fan of of genre content, this is a
Yeah.
win in and itself of every single one of these people,
Yeah.
these creators that got nominated for a major award like a primetime Emmy. This is a major a win for all of
Yeah.
us. But Jr., run
Yeah.
us down some of the bullet points from the 26 nominations that HBO's The Watchmen got.
Actually, before I do that, kind of want to just have
Go.
this little note where it it's great to have this because one, a lot of people like the biggest, I guess, standard when it comes to sci-fi genre or a fantasy setting genre was of course the last 8 years of Game of Thrones, right? Last eight
Yeah,
seasons of Game of Thrones, and that was the biggest reason why. But there has been talk before, people saying that, oh, if it wasn't for that, that's like the only, I guess, quote unquote, quote unquote, like exception, right?
yeah.
Like no other storyline or no other type of fiction that's gonna be set in this type of storyline is gonna ever have a chance or have a shot at winning an Emmy. We're fast forward to today, after that huge monster Game of Thrones is finally over and done with, you have these other shows that are kind of set somewhere in that standard of science fiction, of fiction in general. But it goes to, of course, Watchmen with 26 noms, man. 26 nabs. One for outstanding directing for limited series, and outstanding writing for limited series, outstanding lead actor for limited series, and Jeremy Irons. Dude, I think they have the most outstanding. I think they have the most noms in outstanding lead actor and like actresses and guest stars and guest people. It's insane. You have Jeremy Irons being nominated for outstanding lead actor, outstanding fantasy and sci-fi costumes, outstanding actor in limited series for I'm gonna butcher this name, but Yaha Abdul Mateen II as Cal Albar, Dr. Manhattan. You have, of course, outstanding supporting actor again in Jovan Apedo as after Edepo. Sorry, I apologize about that. You have another outstanding supporting actor in limited series for Louis Gossett Jr. as William Reeves, and of course the awesome one, biggest ones, outstanding lead actress in the lead series by Regina King for Angeles Abar, Sister Knight. That's crazy. Like, just think for a second, right? You have these big names like Jeremy Irons and Regina King doing a sci-fi comic book movie or series and getting nominated. You got a guy like Giancarlo. Wait 1 second. Let me go back to it. You got a guy like Giancarlo Esposito for one episode, and you get nominated. That's crazy. And like he has been nominated before many times in Better Calls and in Breaking Bad, and he's finally getting another nomination again in Better Call Saul for Best Supporting. But you do one episode, and you get nominated. This is the type of level of actor we're getting now. This is the type of quality actors we're getting in this genre. And as I say, it's definitely a big, like, pardon my French, but this is a big dick move by everybody saying, hey, we're not a genre to not play around with anymore. If you wanna win something or be nominated something, come to us too. So this is definitely something to look at, man.
Yeah, huge step. And I know, like I said, a lot of people are hoping that this will either sprout some spin-off content.
Yep.
But I think across the board, congratulations to all the nominees.
Yep.
And again, a huge step forward for, I think, some equality in the
Absolutely.
the genre, in genre film, genre TV. Is
Mhm.
here you have not only a female but a woman of call what it is, a woman of color, Regina King,
Mhm.
who I've always been a fan of.
Oh,
I've loved her
yes.
work. She, by the way,
Yes.
an underrated role of hers. If you've never watched, and I'm gonna beat this drum for all eternity. If you've never watched the show Big Bang Theory, first off, if you've got HBO Max, they have all 12 seasons available right now on HBO Max. She plays a character where she's the head of human resources for Caltech. It's a bit role. She's shown up, I think she did 6, maybe 7 appearances in the show, but it's she is so dry funny. It's hysterical. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but my wife and I absolutely love the show. We absolutely love her character when she comes on because of her delivery. She is such an underrated actress, such an underrated role of hers on Big Bang Theory. Absolutely. And again, worth a watch. But I will throw myself under the bus too. Have not watched enough of The Watchmen, only because the Zack Snyder movie, kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. But I will give this show a legitimate shot, and not just because of the awards. I've been told by multiple people, you got to give this show a shot.
A small little segue too. Actually, just want to add a point too. Like the one, and this is how far back I go. The one, the biggest role for me that I remember Regina King from is that, dude, I used to watch freaking The Boondocks. It's animated there. The Boondocks back on Adult Swim, and Regina King was, of course, the voice of Healy and Riley Freeman, and I loved. Like I would not expect to think that Regina King, who did the voices of very well, I guess still pretty like a niche and like a Adult Swim, the Boondock series, right? Would be nominated for a Watchmen for a role in Watchmen.
Yeah,
I would think she would get nominated for something else, a lot more. I guess a lot more on the artistic / like, you know, I guess serious drama role. But then you get nominated for Watchmen. I would never think in my lifetime to see that. But then freaking props to her, man. I love it, dude. And so definitely, absolutely. And also, just one more thing I forgot to add: that Watchmen is also going head to head in best series against Mando.
Yeah,
so,
I forgot.
Overall,
they didn't.
Yeah, overall, man, it's gonna be a really fun ride to see this.
This is gonna be
this Emmys, man.
Yeah, JR has in our notes here. I want to point this out. Netflix beat out HBO's previous record for the most nominations in a single season
Ever.
with 160 total nominations. HBO only took home 107 this year, 137 last year. Distance search. This tells you where streaming and premium continues to go. This is a trend that started all the way back in the 90s with shows like Deadwood, shows like Pushing Daisies, The Sopranos, Sex and the City, Entourage, of course, on to Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, which are on AMC. Granted, they're not technically a paid subscription service, but still, shows like The L Word, shows like
Orange
my goodness,
Black.
What's that? Orange is the New Black.
Orange is the New Black.
All these shows that have been on Showtime, that have been on HBO, that have pushed the envelope.
On Netflix.
But The Wire, Oz, all those shows. It started because the creative freedom was being stifled on regular cable, on regular TV.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of stuck in a rut. Now, I think that it has opened up the opportunities for people to compete and maybe push the envelope a little bit, but still not lose the innocence of quote old sitcom. And a lot of that goes to the creators behind like The Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother, what's it called? Modern Family, shows like that have like, okay, we've got to try something different without trying too much different. So, and I will say this in those stats that I was about to read, Netflix has 160 this year. HBO has 107. The next closest network in nominations is NBC with 47. So that means streaming services, absolute domination of the Primetime Emmy Awards. It also should be noted that Tim Cook and Apple TV Plus got a handful of nominations in their first year, including some possible winners. I know that some simple stuff as like, I think Snoopy in Space might get like animated or something like that. But the big nominations were Jennifer Aniston for the morning show,
Mhm.
Steve Carell for the morning show,
Morning- yeah.
and I believe the morning show was also nominated for best series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
For those of you who are fans of the morning show, they are in pre-production. I did read something earlier this week. They are in pre-production, but have completely scrapped their storyline for season 2 to
Oh.
address the coronavirus. So they are completely redoing season 2 to deal with the pandemic, to tie it into the season and talk about Black Lives Matter and
That's nice.
things that have gone on in the real world in 2020. If anybody hasn't seen the first season of the morning show, that show in itself is worth the subscription at $4.99 a month to Apple TV Plus. So if you have a iPhone, I believe I think it's available on most platforms now. But if you have an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac, something, an Apple device that you've bought in the last 12 months, I believe you have 1 year free. But if you're a non-Apple user, I think on like Samsung, LG, Roku, they have the Apple TV app, and you can subscribe to their TV Plus subscription, which again is $5 a month. Morning show is really good. Also, there is a show that's really good that I've only got about 2 episodes in, called the show is called For All Mankind, and what it's based on is, I'll give you the real quick synopsis. Imagine you go back to the summer of '69 and the Russians beat the Americans to the moon, and NASA completely scraps the Apollo program, reboots it with women. So you're talking about guys like Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, that whole line of American icons, American heroes of the Apollo program are second tier because they couldn't get to the moon fast enough. Really cool show. I got about 2 episodes in, but I need to go back and kind of push ahead. I just had so much, so much to watch. But that also is available on Apple TV Plus. Yeah, like JR, like in your note says here, HBO loses 30 nominations in less than 12 months because of Game of Thrones. So
Way more than that. Yeah, the Game of Thrones has been like the mainstay. Like that's been, I guess, the gold. Well, I can't say I guess, but that's been the gold standard for like sci-fi and even the storytelling genre, where they've been nabbing left and right Emmys, left and right, and people, let's get it right. People have been waiting for that series to finally end to even get a shot at an Emmy, and here, lo and behold, the first year out of it, we have all that. We have these other heavy hitters in the sci-fi / fantasy realm just nab at all this stuff, because it's definitely very much a medium that people gravitate to, that people want more of. And so I'm all here for it, man. Like we definitely live in a time where we got Watchmen and we got a side story of a Mandalorian winning Emmys or having nominations for it.
Yeah. It also should be known, speaking of the Game of Thrones, J.R.R. Martin came out on social media this past week and said that if he does not have the last book written, that you can lock him up. I believe this is what his tweet was. So there were a lot of people that had some fun photoshopping him behind bars, because there is no way in hell that final book will ever see the light of day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, cool enough too. The person who's shadow writing it, and he's been said before, is the guy who's doing the of a guy who's doing it in a 2-man group. That's, I think it's James A. Corey, who he's in the sci-fi realm. Yeah. So I'm hoping that JR just gives him everything. Here's my side notes and just work with it, because if you haven't noticed, guys, I'm a huge nerd fan for like the sci-fi stuff. If you haven't watched The Expanse yet, watch it. That's it's really well done, really, really well done. And the guy that's being helmed to possibly, shadow write all of the next, Winds of Winter and all that stuff to finally end Game of Thrones is given the reins. He's the guy that wrote that. So I'm just wanting George or J.R.R. Martin to just give him everything, and he'll be done within the next like 2 years or so.
Well, you're right. I think you're right. It's George R.R. Martin. I think you were right. I think I was getting J.R. Tolkien.
No, yeah. But yeah, like it's it's I saw that tweet too. I'm like, bro, you had been locked up like 15 years ago. You've been locked up like way long, bro. Like, side story, man. When I was still in college, man, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who was a big fan, and I'm like, hey, are you gonna be worried though? Like, why? You might die before you finish the story. You might die before that. Like, don't say that. Don't say that. Like, it took him like about 15 years to go from one book to this book. You know, I forget which book came out at this time, but it took him a while. So here's hoping. But yeah. And just last bit of news, I guess. Last bit for the day. And it's a little, I guess, we can go, it's the last bit of news, guys, for today, unless you had a point.
No,
Yes.
I was going to say we was going to do the Microsoft.
Yeah, the Microsoft stuff. Like, have you watched any of it? I'll preface it with that.
I haven't. I saw a couple of interviews that some of the developers for Microsoft and Xbox did. Again, to kind of throw some love to another YouTube channel, iJustine, who I've been a fan of for a while, did an interview with the head of Xbox gaming for Microsoft, and he talked about Halo Infinite and some of the stuff that came out of the Microsoft event back on the 23rd. I actually was kind of impressed. I know that we kind of glossed over very quickly last week about Halo Infinite, but I actually kind of liked what I saw, you know, despite the fact that we live in this modern warfare, Call of Duty era where it's got to be overly graphic and more realistic. I really think that Halo Infinite does a great job at kind of tipping the hat to the old look and feel of the Halo series, but also moving forward and really pushing the boundaries of the graphics and stuff like that. And of course, we did hint on last week that a lot of other titles are coming out for the new Xbox, the new next gen box. A lot of it was kind of par for the course, a lot of stuff that was to be expected. And then, of course, the big unveil at the end being Fable. But nothing like, and I don't know, I think I share similar, just based on your notes, similar opinion, that I was just kind of like, cool, move on to the next thing. But no, I really, Halo looks kind of decent. So
yeah, like I've said before in last week's podcast, just small. It was a small like giveaway line. It was not for me, cool, but not for me. Like I'm old enough now to not be in the quote unquote console wars anymore. It's
Switch, baby. It's all about the Switch.
I'm like, people will, well, I can say, like, with my past purchases and stuff, I guess I'm a Sony fanboy, but like at the same time I have Xbox and all that stuff. I didn't buy the Xbox One this generation because like I didn't see no need to. I'm very much a story driven, like, single player type of guy, even though the last games I played now are multiplayer stuff. But overall, I looked at this stuff, man, and I was hyped about some things, and others I was like, okay, not for me. But then, hey, someone's excited for it, Yeah. And Halo Infinite looked very much like Halo. Yeah. Granted, I think it's gonna be a open world Halo, which is cool. But at the same time, like, I hope it's not gonna be Far Cry. I hope it's not gonna be Far Cry. I hope it's not gonna be these other action games that turned into open world games. And I don't know. But granted, people are, fans are excited for it, and that's cool. That's awesome. I've seen one of my biggest, I guess, riffs about the whole event was that there was very, very, very few and far between like actual gameplay stuff like shown. A lot of the trailers were CGI, man. I'm like, it's this kind of realm, today's kind of like scape of gaming. You can't have that. Like for a damn fact that you have a game on file, a game in the works coming up that's supposed to be slated for the end of this year, which they say that a lot of them are going to be, or not a lot of them, but like some of them are going to be. Why don't you have gameplay up? like the big games like Forza and Halo Infinite, which is supposed to be a launch game for the new Xbox Series One X, which is a weird name in general, but hey, whatever. Or Xbox Series One. I guess it was like we'll go that later. That's tangents. I apologize, but like a lot of these games, if you know they're supposed to come out this year, why isn't there gameplay? That's my biggest gripe. That's my biggest gripe of it. A lot of them were just gameplay, were like just CGI. A lot of them were just very much, working title. One of my favorite games, right, that I didn't know was coming out was State of Decay, and they showed a very, very serious like CGI trailer of it. I'm like, okay, it looks interesting. And it says State of Decay. I'm like, State of Decay historically isn't a graphics powerhouse. Why don't you have some small snippet of gameplay for it? Right, I'm excited that's coming out.
Yeah.
And your biggest get, of course, and your biggest reveal was another Fable game. And I'm like, okay, where's gameplay? Where's some small snippet of gameplay? And I don't know. But the biggest takeaways from this whole event though was that the ecosystem of Microsoft, they're doing something different, which is great, which is cool. They know their niche, they know their platforms. This generation specifically was a very much of a learning curve for Microsoft. Last generation, before this one, for PS3, that was the same thing with Sony. They screwed up $600, horrible hardware to kind of trying to make games for, and and this was this generation for Xbox. So they try to know what the ecosystem is. So basically, what they're trying to do is that whatever game you buy or get is going to work for every platform. Whatever, if you are associated, if you're buying their version of Guest Gamefly or their version of streaming services called Game Pass, you can use that Game Pass. You can play a new game off the bat for $15 a month. Every single game there. If you buy their subscription service, you're able to play on whatever platform that's Microsoft owned for $15 a month. So your Forza, your new Halo, your new State of Decay, your new Gears of War, everything, every one of those games that they showed, you play launch day for $15. That's big.
Yeah.
I'm not an Xbox fan by any stretch of the imagination, and I didn't like the whole feel of the whole event, but that right there is huge pivotal changing news to again I apologize for what I'm going to say right now. A big fuck you to every game developing and publisher in the game right now, even to Sony.
Yeah.
And they're taking shots at everybody just with that. Hey, we have streaming services that you want to play all the new games, specifically from Microsoft Studios, we got it for $15.
It's their answer, because it's the same thing. Because to just go off a quick tangent with because being a shareholder in both Microsoft and in Apple, is that there's such a demand for a steady revenue stream.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with Best Buy. When I, being a former Best Buy employee, Best Buy doesn't make money off of selling you a computer or a television or a CD or a DVD. They make money on services. They make money on, hence why they've been trying desperately to get into the phone business, more than just being a retail front for cell phones, but they're Geek Squad services and stuff like that. That's how they make their money. Same thing with Apple and Microsoft. They make money on revenue, on consistent revenue stream. And it's why Apple needed to make a streaming service. They have Apple TV Plus. It may not be Netflix. It may not be blowing down the door of streaming services, but it's a constant revenue stream, even though they gave away 60 million subscriptions last year. But if they can get, 1 million or a million and a half of people to pay $5 a month for 12 months, hey, that's something.
Yeah.
It's Microsoft trying to do the same thing. They've tried other streaming services, they've tried other outlets for getting this is an opportunity for them to try and beat someone to the punch on this, and do the Netflix approach to because people said, why would I want to pay $15 a month, or at the time $10 a month for Netflix, when I can just go to the movie, so I can go to the movies, or I can go to the video store and rent a movie and watch it whenever I want and pay for it when I want. I'll pay $2-3 for a rental. I mean, I used to be a Blockbuster member for years, and you'd go down to the movie store and you'd grab your 4 or 5 movies on a Friday night, and you'd rent them for, rent all those movies for $5-10 or something like that. So people go like, why would I want to do that? And they'll tell you, well, you said to yourself, you went to Blockbuster and for $10 you got 5 movies. Well, how would you like to pay $10 a month at the time and get access to thousands of movies and be able to watch on demand at any given time? And that's what Microsoft is trying to do. And it may work, it may not work. Time will tell, but for $15 a month, and you have access to Microsoft Studios' entire log of video games. I think it's only a matter of time that PlayStation will do the same thing, because people have been wanting the every time there is a new one, the next gen console to be backwards compatible. And I think this will be an opportunity for that to happen, that Sony will do the same thing, and they will make available to the audience their back catalog of.
What I will say to add to your point is that definitely Microsoft is definitely doing something different. They have to do something different because they can't rely on numbers right now, because the numbers from this generation is like a 2-to-1 going to favor of Sony. Like if Microsoft sold 50 million consoles this generation, Sony sold 100 million. And they can't battle those numbers right now. So a good headway to go into the next generation of consoles is to very much, say that, hey, here's our ecosystem, $15 to play every single game on launch day for those games, and then you get the full game. There's no you don't have access. You don't have access to multiplayer. You only can play single player stuff. No, the whole thing. So that's awesome. That's amazing. They're actually in odds against like these streaming services per se. So they're fighting against your Google Stadia. If you don't know what that is in any regard, most people don't anymore. Google wanted to make a streaming video game system, right, in the last year or so, and they tried to put it out, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And that's what Microsoft's going against, because in Microsoft's regard, in
Steam too.
In Steam too, yes. But like Google Stadia said that they had some highly touted numbers. Oh, you play every game in 60 frames per second or more, so you get 4K, this and that, and it wasn't great. One of the great things going for Microsoft is that they have great like cloud services. That's the biggest thing, because we're slowly getting away from physical media, physical disc anymore. What people are gonna look for is like, all right, cool, what's the next best option, so I don't have to have like thousands of games making this huge freaking huge like wall, this huge wall behind me, whatever, right? So it's cloud services. Just get these games off the cloud, and that's what Microsoft is doing. That's the reason why Google, for some weird reason, isn't having a great time, because their cloud service isn't that great, which is weird to me.
Yeah.
Which is odd to me, because you're Google, but hey, this is the time we live in, right?
It's come and gone. I mean, not to get onto too much of a tech side, but Google Drive has been, which their cloud-based service has been kind of lackluster the last few years. OneDrive, which is Microsoft's version of a cloud-based drive, has probably emerged as one of the top players. I would have to say that Dropbox is probably still number one. iCloud is up there for Apple, but OneDrive is up there. I would swear Google Drive 6 years ago was probably the number one. And I know for school, for education level, it does okay, but that's out of pure necessity. But that's the thing I think that Microsoft has an advantage of, is they have an established good infrastructure for cloud-based technology.
You know how good Microsoft Cloud Studio is? It's so good. It's a rhetorical question. It's so good that Sony is actually partnering with them to have their own cloud services.
Yeah.
It's called the Azure Cloud that is owned by Microsoft. as their systems. Like Sony's now in a partnership with Microsoft to say, hey, let us use your cloud services.
Yeah.
And it said, yeah, sure, absolutely. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. And of course, we tend to forget that Microsoft is a huge company, right? And
Oh, it's huge.
and their gaming division is a very small comparison. And so of course they're gonna have Sony, say yes to Sony for like having their cloud services. But
Yeah.
that's beside the point. Overall, it's kind of wrap up the event. Not for me. I would love to see a lot more with especially if it's in comparison to like the Sony event, right? Or the Microsoft event in comparison to the Sony event, where I saw gameplay from a lot of games. I saw what I wanted to see. I was blown away in some aspects. I was appeased in some aspects, and like others, I'm like, I wish I saw more of. There were some bunch of games that I saw that I thought was really cool. For the names of it, there's this one game where you are where is it? I had my notes real quick, where you're actually playing, where you're a girl. Oh, it was called The Medium. There you go.
Oh,
Where
okay.
you're a female character, where you're playing, you can switch in and out of like these crazy. It looks like Final Hill to me, but you're playing the exact same level, but in off of bat you switch from like your regular normal like real world to like a hellscape, the exact same level. It was tripped me out. It tripped me the hell out. And I can't like that right there intrigued me.
Yeah.
Because the exact same level, right? And off the beat of a hat, you go from like a regular like, let's say, abandoned hospital to a hellscape in like 0.1 seconds. And that's cool. That's interesting. That's the type of stuff that I'm interested in. And so, granted, I'm probably not gonna buy an Xbox Series One X, whatever it's called, off of
Yeah, I don't
launch.
even know.
Yeah, but it's looking like a good contender because there's some games I do want to see. Anything to add, Kev?
No, I think that you kind of knew that was going to be more of um, your go-to on that one, but we'll have more video game stuff probably in the very near future as we get
Yes.
closer to the holiday season. A lot of stuff is coming out and during the holidays. I think the first big, like, I know that JR is going to say, "Oh, next week there's a big title," but I think for the overarching, for the big overarching audience, I think the first big, huge title that's going to hit during the gaming season will be in September with, of course, Avengers. There was some more information coming out that Clint Barton version of Hawkeye will not be available at the beginning of the game. It will be a character that you, I believe, collect in the game. And what's kind of cool is they said that it will be a more comic, authentic version of Clinton Barton, that he is partially deaf in the book. So that'll be interesting in how that plays into a video game. But I'm really looking forward to it. The more I see about this game, I was not happy with it when the initial announcement came out last year. Yeah. But the more they release about this title, I am very intrigued by it. There's a very good chance that I will probably get this game because I've been hemming and hawing about getting a new game. I, of course, have become, with having little kids, I've had to lean more towards Nintendo and the content that I have on the big screen. And I've really enjoyed playing the Pokemon games. But I'll tell you one thing. I played a little bit of Legend of Zelda again, broke that out after a little 6-month hiatus because, man, I was obsessed with Breath of the Wind when it came out, or when I got it on my Switch. But I had to take a breather. Took a 6-month breather, got back into it. I was on that game yesterday for 6 hours, and I was like, okay, I need to put it down. And what's that?
You weren't the only one in playing a game for 6 hours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, JR last night, we're recording this on a Sunday afternoon, so hopefully it does not delay our release of it, because I usually try to get this out edited and out by Sunday night or Monday morning. JR went full nerd, did a little D&D action with our good friend Mr. Z. What's going on, Mr. Z, who is hopefully a subscriber by the time this comes out. But nonetheless, with that signal right there, if the bat signal has come out from the Dark King, I think we could put a bow on the video games and go right into the flex pool.
Oh, yes.
And I will unveil my backdrop here so that I can get this in. I've got pool list, a couple of mail calls. There's something in here that JR is going to either go, bro, or give me a, hey, it's about time in my mail call.
Okay.
First, I want to give a shout out to,
Empty tombs.
well, no, not yet. I'm
Not yet.
working on that. That might be next month. This is a eBay. This is a Rob Matrix purchase. Still bagged, poly bag, Death of Superman, Superman number 75. I now have 2 copies. I just grabbed it. It was a $10 buy, whatever. Grab that. So I think it's Rob Matrix on eBay. Little mail call from Midtown Comics, coming out straight out of the NYC.
Midtown.
This is the Brian Michael Bendis Secret War, book 3 of 5, the classic Captain America cover. Get that beautiful cover there.
The core's good.
Gabriel Delato, I believe, on the artwork, if I'm not mistaken.
Man. I can't wait till it gets big again, dude. Like Delato, like he's always been big. He's a great creator. He's a great artist, man. But like, the buzz has been definitely taken over from like your Peach Momoko and your and anything that Kincaid is not. Yeah, Kincaid too is getting up there as well. But as well as like your newer players, Archer and all that stuff. I cannot wait, man, until people realize that, oh snap, Delato is still great at what he does, and they're gonna start buying his stuff again, man. I cannot wait for that, bro. But go ahead, continue.
Oh, we got a little Red Sonja Vampirella meets Betty and Veronica. I'm a sucker for Betty and Veronica. Very cool cover. I thought at first when I saw this that it was I thought it was a Ryan Kincaid cover. It's not. It's a Sanapo.
Oh yeah.
Cover. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool cover. Grabbed it from Midtown, fill in the collection. I didn't think I was going to get this one because this was actually hard to find. I've become a very big collector of blank variants. Reason being, shout out to our buddy Ryan Kincaid, who does drink and draws. I might take this to the next con that we run into to our good buddy Ryan. The purple cover, Catwoman 80th anniversary purple cover. So I'm thinking about what color I'm going to have Mr. Kincaid do on this. Might actually save this, to be honest. Not for Ryan, but if I run into Jolie Jones, I might have her do a little drink and draw. I know that she is typically a huge get for WonderCon, and knock on wood, hopefully we can flatten the curve, get rid of this bullshit, and we can move on with our lives, and we could go back to cons in 2021.
Oh gosh, yes. I miss conventions so much, dude.
Speaking of the aforementioned Miss Jolie Jones, to me, I don't know how to explain it, but I think she is by far I think she's one of the top creators in all of comic books. I would put her right now in the current top 10. I think she is amongst the greats of what's the word I'm looking for? Female creators. I think she's one of DC's top creators, period. And again, go back to the interview that she does on Sci-Fi Wire. I think she again, you'll know why she's a great creator. But speaking of the Catwoman blank cover, I want Jolie to do the little what do they call it? Not a retouch.
A
remark.
Yeah.
But I have it's technically cover A, because she is the right now the best Catwoman. I think she runs the Catwoman book right now. But the 80th anniversary cover A is the Jolie Jones Catwoman. I just absolutely love how she draws the character.
Yeah.
I love her style. There's just something about her. Now, of course, I showed you last week. I have the Batgirl statue that I got at WonderCon in 2019. I am working with Chick from Comic Asylum, little cheap plug, to get the Catwoman wedding dress statue. Hopefully I can get that, and hopefully I can have a chance to get it signed in WonderCon next year. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Jolie. Couple last things. This is a black and white variant of Boom Studios' Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover issue number 1, black and white variant. It's a cool
Great
cover,
crossover, by the way. Great crossover.
Yeah, by the way, probably one of the best crossovers that they have done. Also, by the way, apparently the was it the Power Ranger Batman crossover, or was it Ninja Turtles crossover?
Ninja Turtles.
That's not done yet, by the way. And apparently they're going to introduce Batgirl into the whole.
Really?
So, I don't know. I might got me hooked, but I saved the best for last for my Midtown mail call. I got it for cover price. It's not the silver. It's not the gold. Okay. So it's not cool like JR's, but it is cover A.
Okay.
Issue number 1. Negan Lives.
Okay.
So this is the right off the rack, cover A number 1. I mean, it's a one shot, but this book is retailing above its cover price at $4.99. Yeah. There are places that you have to pay a little extra to get that book. I got super lucky. I looked at it. I mean, if you want to talk about imperfections, it's got a slight little like indentation right here, like you would like if someone had read it, but it's not previously read. It's just like maybe something like the way they shipped it. That sometimes they ship it like this, they stagger it. Yeah, it looks like some of the weight went on this side. So this was sold as it was not sold as a very fine. It was labeled as like the next tier on Midtown. So I'm not complaining, because really and truly no one other than someone like you and I would notice that.
Yeah.
But hey, I'll take a book that is leaning towards becoming a wall book.
Yeah. And
I got it basically off the rack. Last couple things. I did get a little hashtag pull list. That was kind of a fun little book. DC Cybernetic Summer 2020. Cool little cover there from DC, little one shot from the summer. Shout out to Chick and Anna from Comic Asylum. Got me the cover A of Faithless number 2, part 2, issue number 2. By the way, can't say enough about this series. So weird, but really good.
Yeah.
Another Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica, cover A of issue number 12. Kind of a little Days of Our Lives kind of cover. But in honor of the movie that will be coming out in September, it is Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. An homage.
I know what you got.
To Bill and Ted. Super cool cover. Vampirella and Red Sonja doing the Bill and Ted pose. Love it. I think, what do you have, Dracula there doing the not death. Is it death or is it George Carlin?
I think it's death.
Oh, okay, but I thought it was a cool cover. And then you have in the telephone booth, you have Betty and Veronica. I thought it was a cool cover. Shout out to the artist. I don't have it off the top of my head. But the last thing, little flex pull. Again, I blame this on JR.
What did I do now?
About 4 years ago, maybe not that long ago, but when we had our first brag night, he introduced me to this artist, and now I've dove headfirst into the deep end with this guy. I've met him 3 separate times. Super cool guy. He has splintered off amazing other artists like David Chu.
Kendrick Lim. No, not Lim. Wasn't Lim?
Ron Lim?
No, Kendrick Lim. Okay. Kendrick Lim.
I was going to say, Ron Lim's been around long longer.
Not Ron. Not Ron. Yeah.
But this, of course, is Stanley Lau, Art Germ. This is volume 2 of the Art Germ poster portfolio. Really cool cover there of Catwoman and Batman. Oddly enough, now that I look at the back of this cover, I'm sorry, this cover is available in the book.
Yeah.
Here's a little taste of all of the different covers. My all-time favorite being this Batgirl, just a really cool version of Barbara Gordon. I thought it was funny. This was like this Mara cover, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Art Germ books, you have to grab them. This one they couldn't give away. Don't know why. I think it's a kind of a cool cover, but Mara's just kind of a lame character. But oddly enough, I don't have this one of.
Fun.
I don't think I have that one from
Star.
Teen Titans.
Yeah, no, that's the both those ones, that's exclusive from Art Germ's website.
Okay.
I was looking at that the other day.
Another cool one was this black and white Supergirl. I believe that's actually one of the only times he's ever done a reprint.
Yeah.
So really cool. There was actually the first version of that went to a foil cover for WonderCon 2018. Got my hands on that one. And then he redid it in black and white for his last run of Supergirl, because I think that was like his last hurrah with DC. No, Catwoman's his last hurrah, isn't it?
Yeah, it was Catwoman for the last runs of it.
Yeah,
first one.
But nonetheless, really cool book. $25 retail. You can get it at Comic Asylum right now, or you can. I think you might still be able to get it at his website, and I think you can get it at Barnes and Noble typically as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Other than that, that is my flex pull for the week.
Full name flex. Yep.
What you got there? You got anything, or you...
I'm gonna run through mine just real quick. Here's the thing about being on lockdown and having an eBay account. It tends to be pretty bad. So granted, I'm gonna probably sell a lot of this stuff anyway. But I got this is from The Realm, I think. No, it's Dark Age, right? I got this cover, which first time I saw this, I loved it. I love this cover.
Cool book.
Virgin. I bought 3 of these. A big one that came out recently. I've been ever since I saw this cover, man. I had to get it. M25.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Rapusa variant, Virgin variant. Came out. That's this book going crazy right now too off eBay. I had to get The Good Son.
All right, gotcha.
Null, a little Null. That one's going up too. I'm gonna send that to CGC. This one actually, I bought this the second I heard news about it. Right, it's New Mutants right here. New Mutants, I think issue 18. It's the first appearance of a villain in the book, as well as the bear, Demon Bear. The Demon Bear is actually coming out in the movie soon, but I made a note about this last podcast where a villain that's supposed to be played by Antonio Banderas is going to be featured in the next movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people caught that yet because the book hasn't gone up, thankfully.
Yeah.
So once people find out, the book's gonna go up eventually. And I had to buy this one, Hell Arisen. I don't know if I showed this yet. Hell Arisen, first punchline.
Interesting.
First punchline.
That's first punchline.
Yep. First punchline. I'm pretty sure I showed this one already, but this is my biggest get. Venom. This is I forgot his name, dude. But he's a mainstay of doing usually Venom books, man. This is the one for 500 variant, and just my usual pull from Comic Asylum stuff. Redneck, Donny Cates, Heathen, which is I'm pretty sure Heathen's gonna come out with his own series on Netflix soon, as well. And just other stuff, man. I just got. Oh, that's right. I gotta show this one off. This one was hard to get.
Ooh, Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman number 2. A 1 for 50 variant. I try to go to Chickensville spot, man, Comic Asylum in Palm Desert, and ask him for that variant. Like, oh man, you just missed it. Like how long? How close? By a day. Z was here the day beforehand, and he bought it. So yeah. And one, of course, the hottest person right now in the game for comics, Ichimoku. Wind.
Ooh, that's a cool cover.
Yeah, dude. And then there's some other stuff from my pool as well. I bought this off a. I bought this. This is my pool.
Ooh, that book
4,
right
5.
there. I was
Oh,
just
dude.
going to say, do you have
Yeah.
Thor number 5?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to pull it up right now.
Do it.
Is again, this is another reason why I tell people to download apps like Key Collector.
Mm-hmm.
Thor number 5, the book that JR just showed, first full appearance of the Black Winter, just a cover A, high grade, right out, which means if you bought it off the rack, unless Diamond screwed it up and squished the book or something, a high grade of that book that JR just showed, 50, that's $50 right now. It is a $3.99 off the rack book. That is not
Yeah.
a wall book yet, but is at a wall book price in value. And that is, if I'm not mistaken, is that still Jason Aaron running the
No,
show? No, that's
it's
Donnie
Kate.
Cates. That's
It's
right.
Kate. The small little tidbit too, like anything that Kate's touching right now specifically is going crazy. I have a bunch of Venom 3s, right? From a while back. I'm pretty sure I showed that, right? The A covers, right, are going for like anywhere between 50 to 250 right now. And then you have the third print going for an astounding $650. Just raw book. It's the CGC 98. I think it's last sold for like $1,000, man. Like those books are going crazy, dude. You have these crazy off the wall third print Venoms, right? Like I think Venom 4, which shows Null using the Necrosword for the first time for like $150. I'm like, dude, like these books are, I don't know if it's a flash in the pan or a mainstay, but then right now it's good if you have a bunch of that stuff. It's either in my opinion, you should either have that stuff CGC'd or sell it right now, because it's a super hot book right now.
Yeah.
And if you paid $3.99 for it when it first came out, and you have maybe 2 or 3 of those issues because like it looks great because one, Noel is a crazy character. You went up like plus 1,000. You made your return on investment and like way some. Like I'm pretty sure if you sold a first appearance Null third print, you probably paid for your pull for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy.
yeah, this entire series that Jared just showed you of Thor. This is Thor Volume 6 for those of you keeping track at home. All done by Donnie Cates. It started initially in January of this year. Now I will say, I wasn't real thrilled with the last Jason Aaron run, the Volume 5, so I actually canceled Thor from my pull list. The first issue, again, $3.99 off the rack, has a return value of $5, so it's up, 25%, whatever. Thor number 2 is up 80. It's at $85 for a high grade. Just based on the fact that Donnie Cates references DC in that book, in Thor number 2. Issue number 3, Battle of Thor versus Beta Ray Bill, a high grade 30. First cameo of the Black Winter in issue 4 is basically return money. You get return on your investment. By the way, issue number 2 is in a 4th printing. All of them are above market value.
Yeah.
And like JR just showed you, number 5 is at $50, first full appearance of the Black Winter. And it's already the next couple of issues, the solicitations are already at or above market value. So the books haven't even come out yet and they're already above value.
Yeah.
So
it's insane.
it's nuts.
But
yeah. So yeah, Donnie Cates killing it as usual.
like I think this is my opinion, and people will say I'm a huge Johnny Case fanboy anyway for just saying this, but to me, what Donnie's doing right now, specifically to the universe of Marvel, because it's been said already that Null's a celestial level threat, and he's gonna have his own event happening in December. What I feel like what Donnie's doing right now, or trying to do, specifically in his own, I guess, his own little universe realm of Thanos, Silver Surfer Black, of Thor, of Guardians of the Galaxy. Even he's still doing that run, and of course right now Venom, is that he's kind of having his own DC rebirth.
Yeah.
What it feels like, and it feels like that because the stories are super fresh, super new. You had a lot of new characters coming in and about that are looking like they're mainstays within the series itself, and look like to be mainstays within the Marvel universe as a greater whole. Like, you can't get rid of Null at this point anymore. He's gonna be a mainstay forever, for as long as Venom and Spider-Man comes to be, because of how long this mainstay character is, and just the amazing art that's stuck behind it of, oh man, I can't believe I freaking forgot his name, dude. Of Stegman. There you go. Of Stegman. How much of a mainstay it is. It looks amazing, dude. Like, that art of Null, no one could ever forget. No one could ever forget anymore. And so what Donnie is doing right now for Marvel, even though you have a lot of older fans, you have a lot of, like, like fans that aren't in that type of like horror-esque genre, like, it's not for me, or like, that might be blowing out of proportion, man. But like, yo, Donny Cates is the freaking rock star of comics right now. Right now, everything he touches, man, all the crazy metal. Like, to me, like, the story going forward right now with Donnie, it kind of feels more metal than DC death metal. To totally be honest with you,
Cool.
like, it's don't get me wrong, man. Don't get me wrong. Freaking Scott Snyder and what he's doing right now with the metal universe, or with the DC universe right now, is pretty awe-inspiring in that sense. But like, he's not ripping out spines off of people like Donny Cates is doing. He's not doing these crazy world building things. He's not having Thor kill off, quote unquote. He's not having Thor. Okay, spoiler alert. He's not having Thor kill off Galactus.
Yeah.
Like, that just happened in the recent, or that looks like it's going to happen in the recent Thor book. Like, these are some crazy world changing events. He's not having Thor look like Scott Snyder is not having any version of Superman or any version of Batman look like they're losing their sanity from their from. It's like, actually, I can't make a good example. I'm gonna be on a tangent, but yeah, like,
It's all good.
DC, right? No, Donny Cates, not DC. Donny Cates is doing crazy world building things right now, and it to me it harkens back too much what Rebirth was, 4 years ago or now. I think going to this point now, 2016, 2017, yeah, about 4 years now, and that's a good thing. That's a great thing. That's a great thing, and hey, yeah, it's also a good thing being a collector, because if you follow his run, specifically the Marvel universe, specifically all his Marvel runs, dude, you made your investment. You made your return on investment to this point already.
Yeah.
And my dumbass forgot to pick up the third prints of everything, because they're going for like $500 right now. And I should have bought more, and I should have listened to Javel when he said that, hey, you should buy more of that stuff because it's only $10 right now.
Always listen to Javel, right?
Always listen to a very sincere, very, very sincere comic book collector that knows his stuff, that knows this game.
Oh man. Well, it has been a long and informative episode 10
Mm-hmm.
of PS Comics I Love You, and I think I appreciate everyone who stuck with us for the 3-part series on our Comic-Con experiences. Thank you so much for hanging with us about the Emmy nominations. It's been a really, really cool kind of week, kind of wrapping up Comic Con, and then of course the Emmy nominations and all the information coming out now of all the streaming stuff that's going to be hitting, and all the video games. So it's only going to get crazier over the next few months, as it looks like we're here, at least here in the United States, still going to be on lockdown. So we've got a lot of content to cover. But we're going to go back to a single subject episode next week, where we're going to kind of break down villains.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about villains in comic books. We have been lucky enough to see some of the greatest superheroes, both in comic book form and movie form, but not enough love goes to the bad guys. And we can right off the bat talk about the Joker and whatnot, but I mean, there's so many great villains, both on the big screen and in book form, that we can talk about. So we're gonna kind of go to a specific topic next week, and that is what we're going to talk about. It is villains in comic book and comic book movie and comic book television as well. So stay tuned to that. If you want to, if there's anything that you want us to talk about specifically, hit us up on our social media accounts. Again, Instagram and Facebook. Look us up, PS Comics I Love You. And then, of course, on Twitter, it's PS Comics I Love the letter U. And let us know what you want to hear. And, of course, subscribe to the channel right here on YouTube. Click the little bell there. And we are going to come, well, eventually we'll have our own channel for this show, but we're still kind of trying to figure out things from a technological standpoint. And I will say this, the more you subscribe, the more you share our videos, the quicker we will get to getting to a more centric platform. So
thanks again, guys. Thank you very much for just supporting us to these last 10 episodes, guys. Thank you for just sticking with us, man. Thank you for all your support. And also please, guys, support your local comic book shops. Support your local business, man. We are, especially if you're in the United States, we are definitely heading into some type of hellscape with coronavirus and all that stuff, guys. So let's definitely share the love, share our geekiness, and definitely share our support to all those who are supporting our own nerd needs, that in the realm of comic books, in the realm of just fiction and all that stuff, guys. Thank you very, very much for just constantly looking at our faces and saying, you know what, I'll stick with these guys. So again, guys,
I'm Kevin Pill, the voice of reason, and
I am the Dark King, I guess I was just saying Dark King, aka J.R. Kapunan, and we are PS Comics I Love You, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week, guys. See ya.
Bye.